So many choices. Outlands gives us 720 skill points, and what we choose to do with them is up to us. Some prefer to be right up in the action with the old traditional sword and board technique. Some decide to sit back on the sidelines while their pets or their dragons do their damage for them. Some actually prefer to be all sneaky and quiet and assassinate their foes from the shadows. So, which one's right for you? Well, sit back, grab yourself a beer, and let's talk about it. Today we're going to talk really high level over just some different types of playstyles that you can do here on Outlands. Now, you're going to see some different templates, and these are by no way, shape, or form something you have to do. One of the beautiful things about Outlands is the ability to adjust your skills fitting more to your playstyle or whatever type of scenario or monsters that you're fighting. So let's get started. Starting off with the regular Dexter. The basic Dexter is very easy to start with in terms of resources, but it's difficult to play and not die starting out. They will, however, become quite powerful towards the end game as you gain an aspect and mastery chain. Being up in the action puts you right in harm's way. Sustainability and damage is what makes Dexter's constant farming powerhouses. The ability to continue to farm without having to stop and wait for mana to return is where these guys shine, as well as against monsters with high hit points or even bosses. On that same note, there is the Poison Dexter. Poison Dexters boast strong offensiveness, attacking the creature and applying poison, creating multiple forms of damage. Alchemy now not only giving more effective potions, but also the ability to poison sting from melee hits as well. Similar to the regular Dexter, if you're not careful with pulling, you can be overwhelmed quickly, so be careful but enjoy the strong damage output as well. The cost of poisoning can be a bit out of reach for a brand new player, however. Then you got the Dexter Bard, one of the more recommended templates for a new player. The ability to debuff the enemy creature, have them fight one another, or put them in a mesmerized state while you shoot arrows from afar or bash their skull in with a mace make for a great introduction to the game. Bards scale tremendously with player power systems like Aspect and Links, and they do start a bit weaker in terms of damage, but are definitely a safe bet in not dying to monsters often, hence why they are often recommended to new players. Then, in-game, they are very sought after for group farming and bosses due to their ability to buff the party and debuff enemy creatures. Everyone loves a bard, right Ganthrone? The old Backstabber. This is another amazing character type for a new player. Stealthing around dungeons, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. Multiple chances at loot per monster, and the cost to start one of these up is nothing. Watching your damage go from little to hitting the 10k damage cap from character creation to endgame can also be extremely rewarding. There are multiple ways to build this template, so the ability to be flexible with your playstyle is there as well. Everyone loves a good Dexter Tamer, which is yet another wonderful recommendation for a new player. Virtually very little cost to start up. The only pain is training the taming itself. I like to recommend www.tameoutlands.com for a guide on leveling it. Note that a lot of others use it, so you may have to find some other spawns to tame similar skill level creatures. Aside from that, letting your pets do the tanking for you and most of the damage while you chip away as well makes for a powerhouse of a first character, and like all pet templates, allow for earlier entry deeper in dungeons as well. The Mage Tamer. Like the Dexter Tamer, the ability to sit back while your pets do your bidding allows you to fight more difficult monsters than most. The Mage Tamer has the ability to be built for multiple playstyles. You can cast harmful spells and supplement your pet's damage. You can add barding to your template for ease of gameplay. You can focus everything on increasing your pet's damage and survivability. There are lots of different templates and playstyles for a Mage Tamer. Summoner or Necromancer. This playstyle is very similar to Tamers, but most tend to ignore healing their pets due to the ease of just summoning a new one. Once again, even a no-link/no aspect summoner has the ability to get much deeper and fight stronger creatures due to having earth elementals or mummies tank for you while you cast spells at a safe distance. The only drawback for a new player is the initial cost of getting magery to GM. Summoner and Necro playstyles are great in all levels and types of gameplay from early all the way to endgame. Speaking of summoners, the Poison Necro. Similar to the regular Necro in all terms, but adding poison. These PVM powerhouses are a force to be reckoned with, great on both land and sea. That's right, the sea. Now, obviously the ocean is not something early game, but later on, it's one of, if not the best forms of generating income. Poison Necros generate lots of power from Mastery Chain, so the further you get in it, the more powerful they become. Who am I kidding? Everyone generates a lot of power from their Mastery Chain. If you're not far into your chain, don't let that stop you. Poison Necros are still great PVM characters, even low chain levels. Just keep in mind, the initial cost of magery and poisoning is not super cheap. The ARcan Mage. As with most of the character types referenced, there are multiple ways to build this character. These are powerhouses of offensive spellcasting. Imagine a wizard with a machine gun that never runs out of mana and only sometimes gets jammed. These heavily reliant on RNG PVM powerhouses are arguably the fastest land gold farming per hour templates right now. Casting flame strikes non-stop and the ability to face tank or kite makes them very versatile and viable in multiple forms of content. It's quite a struggle starting out with these, as they are heavily dependent on getting mana refunds. That low or no aspect will struggle to reach the cap. Now for Trapper. This is a very niche and very expensive template. It's a lot of fun, but not necessarily the most lucrative inside of dungeons. The cost of traps can add up, even past the initial raising of tinkering. You can build this as a summoner and use your pets to hold aggro while you gather monsters up and drop traps. This is also a very effective way to do treasure maps. Or you can be a Dexter and fight some strong monsters as a Dexter in endgame with the proper loadout and aspect. I wouldn't recommend this at all unless you are a very seasoned player and also very wealthy. Lockpicker, running as fast as possible from dungeon chest to dungeon chest, then onto the next dungeon, picking more chests and running circuits. This is a great way for new players to learn dungeons as well as the monsters inside them. The cost of lockpicking templates is pretty low. While they are lockpicking, they can also be scavengers, looting and skinning monsters that other players left to rot. Something tells me that I left out quite a bit of different templates, so do me a favor, comment below some of the different template types or archetypes that you've came up with. I'm sure there's quite a bit of them. I think that's the beauty of Outlands, is that we just continue to start populating the shard with new, more random types of templates that you really may not think would work at first glance, and then all of a sudden they do. Shout out to the Patreons, the channel members, and you for liking this video, as it helps for discoverability for myself, but more importantly, UO Outlands and my fellow streamers. Speaking of streaming, guys, make sure and come by the live streams most evenings at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Kick. That's right, 5 different platforms for you to choose from. Do me a favor, guys, make sure and comment below a type of video that you'd like to see me do, as I like to do videos that you guys recommend, or at least just post some weird emoji. Alright guys, I'll see you next week. Pwn Star Gaming